All right, so hey everyone, my name is Jon David Jones with Signature Pen Company. I've been making pens and doing this for a couple years now. And you'll have to forgive me if I'm a little rusty on this. I haven't done this particular demo in probably about 2.5 years. But I did practice a lot again before I came because I didn't want to make a fool of myself, right? So what we're going to do is, how many people in here have done the decals before? Okay, cool. So you probably know what I'm talking about then. How many have wanted to try to do decals but haven't done it yet? Or okay. So I'll start out with the marketing part of the decals first. I mean, not every image is going to work out right. You really need kind of a, I've got some different images that I printed out. And I mean, I've got like fish. I tried to do this, to do the MOP logo, but I wasn't able to because it's just too big and it's, oh, you know what? Look there. Yeah. Because it's too big, so when you start to put it on, there's too many corners and you just can't get it straight. What I'll be doing is one of these fish, and I'll show you how to do that. Is everybody on like the Facebook groups, and you probably see Les Elm posting decals all the time and stuff like that. Yeah. These are some of the ones that I used that I really liked, and the reason I chose these because it just really shines on the maple. So I'll tell you how I do those. You can get I have the laser decal paper. Everybody asks where you get decal paper. I said, believe it or not, it was decalpaper.com, but they stopped selling the laser decal paper. The difference between the laser decal paper and the wood decal paper is the laser decal paper, you use a laser printer, but once you've printed it off, you're able to go. I mean, you can start making a blank or making a pen in a matter of minutes. The wood decal paper, you have to spray with a tester's sealant, and it takes about, overnight to set before you can actually use it. The other thing is, the laser, you get a better image quality because of the ink versus the inkjet. So I probably had about 90 sheets left over from the last time I bought from them before they stopped selling it, and that's the sheets that I'm using. So where do you get it now? Most of the people that I know that use decals get it from Hobby Lobby, because you can buy the decal paper there. You can also buy the all of the stuff, the sealant and everything that you need. The other thing that I use is this Salva set, and you get this I got this from Micromark.
You're talking for the wood decal paper?
For any decals at this point. So the wood decal paper you can also get from Micromark too. It's in smaller sheets. What I would probably suggest is there are a lot of companies, and even Amazon will sell the decal paper, like whatever that is, 8.5 times 11, so the full sheets. And then what I do is I take my images that I want to use, put them on a PowerPoint, and then I kind of move them around to resize them, print them off on a regular sheet of paper to make sure that they're going to work before I waste the decal paper, and go from there. So I use PowerPoint for all of mine. So I've got about 20-page PowerPoint with all different logos that I've done, all different images that I've done. If you don't want to have a laser engraver, you can go in, you can type in the name, and you're able to put names on as well. So the other thing is, it's just easier to keep up with PowerPoint and keep it in one file and do it that way. Plus, you can just resize. And with this paper that I use right here, I mean, if you just count the number of, like images or the number of logos, I mean, this one paper could make 20 to 30 pins. When I was in Rotary, I did the pins for the club, and one sheet was all that I needed to do pins for an entire year to give away to guests. So you don't need a lot and stuff. But Micromark also has, where's the camera? Has these little tweezers. They're easier to pick up the decal when you put them in the water. So that's where I buy those. So Micromark is pretty much, if you just go under the decal section, everything you need for decals is under there. Micromark, M-A-R-K. They're a hobby supply company. I believe you can also get a lot of this stuff at Hobby Lobby. I haven't seen the tweezers or anything like that. And I used to have a little sponge on a kind of a toothpick that I would go and put on. But I broke it and I haven't been able to find another one. So, but I believe you can get that from Micromark as well, because they sell a lot of the decal stuff for their model cars and things like that. Is there any questions so far? Anything I can answer? From a marketing perspective, this decals can really help out because if you've got corporate clients that buy a lot of pins for their clients or whatever, you can actually put their logo on using the decal, and you're looking at if you use a junior pen, you're looking at one maple blank and a decal. So your cost is very low, and you're able to still sell 95 to whatever range that you sell at. Usually when I do decal pins, if it's a one barrel pen like the Sierra or something like that, I would sell for $75, and it's two barrel, I would sell for $95, and a fountain pen, I would move it up to $115 to account for the nib. That was the price point that I was on, and I used maple. And the question is, why would you use maple? Because it's really light color wood, so it brings out the color of the decal and brings out the blank. You can I used the Don't Tread on Me was another really big seller. A lot of people buy the Don't Tread on Me blanks and put it on bolt action. Still great selling kits, great selling pen. But if you take it a step further, that's $15 for the blank. You can do $2 for the maple, and then the decal, you've got less cost in it. Plus, you've got a different style. It's a wooden pen versus a label cast pen. So there are advantages to doing decals, and then there are disadvantages. Not every logo would work. I was good enough to pick logos for my company that wouldn't work. So I couldn't use that to make my own pens or anything like that. But if it's a long logo that fits down the blank, it really, really, really looks good and stuff. And I'll be demonstrating here in a minute. So from the marketing perspective, decals are a really good moneymaker for if you're selling pens and if you're selling at shows, because I'll give you an example. In Tennessee, we've got I don't do the flag, but we've got the circle or the 3 stars, and you can do a decal on that, put it on, and it just sells. I've got a couple of those in the jewelry store. It's one of my retailers, and then the other wood that I use is the whiskey wood. You can actually use whiskey wood. And one of the biggest sellers that has been for me would be the praying hands on Bethlehem olive wood on a pen. And you can even get the pens with the cross center bands from Turner's Warehouse. I'm not sure. I think Nels has them too. And then you put the praying hands on there, and it's just people buy that.
Do you ever use highlight?
No, I don't. And the reason that I don't use holly is because, now I do have some friends that used holly, but the reason I don't is because it creates little lines in there whenever you sand it all down. It was always inevitable that I always had some kind of line in there. And then when you put the finish on it, put the ceiling and stuff on it, it showed up that line. So I never used holly for that purpose. I used basswood at one time too.
You're talking the lines, the grain of the wood?
Yeah, and so I settled on maple because it was really light and does have some kind of grain, and people seem to like that. And it was just kind of my go-to. So I've already turned these down. Now this is one example of, sorry, I can't see, believe it or not. So this is one that I did, and I actually posted. I didn't put enough glue on it, I know, so I made a mistake on it, and you can probably see it if you look really, really good at it. But you can see how it shines, and stuff. So that's why I use the bright wood, the maple wood. And then if you're you can also, if you have some white acrylic or white corian or something like that, I know people that do it on that as well. So I've already turned these down. So here's the exact way that I do this. So we'll use this one right here. So I'll tell you the steps that I've done. I've turned down. I've turned it down. I haven't sanded it yet. All that I do is whenever it's turned to the bushings, before I go to sand or anything like that, I put one little small coat of CA on it.
Medium or thin?
Thin. And and I just wipe it on there like that. And then I let it dry. Because you want to get the purpose of that is you're filling any voids, and you're creating the background. That's great. You're creating the background for the decal. So once this is dry, now it's bright. So now at this point, what I would normally do is I do still use micro mesh on this. I've not tried this with Zona paper. When I do finish the blank, I use Zona paper, but for this step, because it's still wood, I still use the micro mesh on this. So now that it's dry, I just go through the steps. And you don't have to you don't have to go all the way through the micro mesh. I usually use the first 4 or 5 and stop. And the reason why, and I'll pass this around and show you, because you need a smooth surface as possible on this. You want to pass that around? Yeah. See how much smoother that is? Because if you don't have a really smooth surface, then what will happen is those air bubbles will get under the decal once you put the water on, and you'll have bubbles in your decal.
Drop of alcohol in your water.
Mm-hmm. Now, if you're using Bethlehem olive wood, I would have put denatured alcohol on it before I would have put the glue on it to make sure to get all that moisture out. So while that's drying, I usually will cut out my, now the trick to cutting this out is, yeah, see this? And on this too is, keep in mind, I mean, you still have failures just like every other thing, so that's why I print off multiple images, because if it doesn't work the first time, I'll just do it again. But what you want to do is you don't want to, if you can, I can't see, but if you don't want any kind of points on this, because those points will come up out of the glue, and so you try to cut as close to the image as possible. Can y'all see me cutting? And if not, I can cut this one and send this around and show you. So what I use is these little scissors that you get at Hobby Lobby or Micro Mark. I mean, either one. So there's the one that's been cut. You gonna pass that around? When you get a big order of these, you just have to find every way to make it interesting when you're doing it.
When you get a big order, do you do the same process over and over, or do you switch it up?
Depends on whether I'm taking my ADD medicine or not, but no. I usually, what I'll do is I'll go in there. I mean, honestly, sometimes I outsource the turning and just, I'll send the glue and the tubes to someone and pay them. It's like I want them turned to junior. That way, all I have to do is do the decal. That helps. The other thing that I do is, if I have to do it, then I'd go out there and I turn everything at once, and then I'll go and I'll put the decals on and get it staged, and then let it set overnight, and then I'll go out and I'll start the finishing process. But the trick is one thing I learned is there are a lot of pin components out there, is to settle on a few pin components. All right. So, and of course I spend, a couple minutes looking for stuff that I laid down 5 minutes before, right? I mean, who doesn't do that? So now that we've gotten this far, we've got the decal cut out, everything else. I'll strangle myself. So now everything's smooth. So let's talk about the glue that you use. I'm pretty sure you can use any type of glue that you want. I know people that have. When I did the decals full time, pretty much, I used the BSI Super Gold and I used the BSI Super Gold Plus with the spritz bottles. You don't really want the spray bottle because it'll really, when you're spraying it, it could force your decal off. So you just want the spritz for decals. That's what I would recommend. When I started practicing and doing it, I had, mercury. I love mercury glue, so I use that, and use the flex glue is what I use. So if you pick a glue, just make sure that you pick the flex. The other glue I found, this was just my own testing, so that it would melt the ink off of the decal. So this glue is what I use right here. So it's either the BSI or the mercury, and it's the flex.
Is it thin or medium?
Thin and medium. So what we've done so far is we've coated it. We've done one thing of thin. Now this is where where'd my fish go? There it is. So this is where you put it in the water and you just hold it in there for a couple of minutes. It doesn't have to be very long at all. What you're really wanting it to do is for it to separate to where when you put it on this, the backing will just, come right off. And they say use medium lukewarm water.
Distilled water, tap water.
I've always just used water. I've never really. And then you just pretty much you place it where you want, and as you can see, or I don't know if you can see or not, but that's not where I wanted it. So then you have to move it. But also having that smooth surface allows you to move it without any issue unless it folds over like it did. Then you gotta start all over. Oh, look, there we go. Perfect. I'm sure nobody else loses anything in their shop, right? Never.
And where is the BSI?
Nails has it, classic nib.
Okay.
That's where I always got my stuff. And then I always got my glue from Robert Colt because he lives close by. But, all right, so now let's try this again. And the trick is, as you're moving it off, is to set it kind of where you want it. There we go. So now, can you see how it's in centered?
When your right hand is pulled away, yes.
Everybody see? So the next step is, I had a brush, and along with my drive center, it's probably sitting beside it. But what I would use, what I would normally do is, because you've still got the blank still wet and everything else. So I had a brush with kind of a velvet tip, and I would just blot the thing and take the moisture out. So I'm having to use a paper towel. Now, when somebody asked whenever I did this, multiple times, this is where I would stop and go to the next step. So now that you've got your decal on, you obviously want to secure it there. You don't want it to move or anything like that. So what I do is And you don't want to do like a CA complete finish right now or anything like that. You just want it to stay there. So what I do is I blot it. That's a Southern word. And basically just,
It's a southern word, it's not a normal word?
I thought it was a normal word, but,
Blotting that with thin CA.
and all I'm doing is just making sure it stays.
Even though the decal still has moisture on it.
Well, I took all the moisture off.
What about underneath it?
Whenever that's why I turn it and make sure it's really, really clean on the under the decal. That's why I did that CA to make sure, because if there was any little holes or anything, it would have picked up that moisture and you would have known like right away it wasn't going to work. The good thing about this is you know right away if it's going to work or it's not going to work. And then this is where I would just kind of spritz it. And then I would pick it up and put it on the shelf and move to another one and so forth. But we're not going to do that today. Because we're only... My wife would kill me if she knew I had my glasses up here on my lathe.
Got a 40
Yeah, good thing she's not in the groups. If she was in the groups, I'd be in a whole lot more trouble. But you can see, I'll bring it, I think. So you can see that it's got the CA on, and there's the CA. Anybody want to see?
But can you still feel the decal there?
Yeah. So now we just got to build it up.
Right, okay. You fill that up with thin CA?
5 coats of thin, 7 coats of medium is my number. And on medium, sometimes I do, depending on how it's going. Because like I said on this, you'll know if you're messing up or not really quick. I'll do 5 coats of medium. But normally it's like 5 coats of thin and 7. I don't know where I came up with those numbers. It just always worked for me. I'm really big on once I get a process down pat and start doing things, I normally won't change that process because I really get in trouble when I do. Especially if I'm like, oh, I think I'll experiment with this, or it never turns out well. It took me a while to even move to Zona paper, and then it took me another while to move to Magic Juice. So. And this paper is a little bit thinner than my paper towels, so. So I usually turn this down below, like right at 800 or 900, like really low. And then I go across really slow one time. And this right here, the reason I do that is because some decals, it depends on the printer's ink and everything, there's so many different reasons, but you'll know if it's gonna take the ink off or if it's not right about now.
So do you ever, before you cut that out, do you ever spray that with a clear?
I don't. I've never done it that way.
Okay. Because I was experiencing the same thing and it was taking the ink off. So then I started spraying it.
Well, now, when you say that, I never sprayed the blank. If I did it on a wood decal paper, I sprayed the decals and stuff.
Yes, that's what I've been doing.
Yeah, so that's exactly what you're supposed to do. I really wished I'd actually found some more laser decal paper, but it's so strong it won't go through the printer. So, I bought the whole package and won't work. But literally, I mean, I love this company because you could just buy a pack of 100 and it was like $99 for 100 sheets of decal and a laser. And so I could go upstairs and print it and then walk out and start working. Whereas if I had to do it on the wood decal, I'd go print it, then have to spray it down, then let it soak in and everything else. Then wonder if it's going to work or not. So now that we've got our first coat on, I just repeat and go across one time, and then I spray. And I use the spritz because I don't want the can. When you use the can, it just like covers it, and you can develop the white spots on it. Or if the decal isn't secure, it'll just knock the decal off. When I'm doing a CA finish, though, I use the other one. I only use this for this purpose. And you can see I got in a hurry there. It happens sometimes. So now, some reason the CA has now when you're doing this, I recommend that you use micro mesh. I'm sorry, this not micro mesh, but Abernet. Yeah, thank you. Because if you use sandpaper, the sandpaper can take your finish and everything else off. I'm just trying to get it back down. And I use 320 and of course 400. Almost. Sorry, I'm not used to using these kind of paper towels. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get that off. So what I said that you shouldn't do happened. It's where I've got a buildup of CA. Almost. Got one a little bit more. I'm gonna have to take my glasses off so I can see real quick. There. I think that got it. And then I usually do the 7 coats. That's 3. Oh shit. I'm telling you. When I just looked and I was like, oh no. That's what normally happens when I went fishing anyway. And basically all you're wanting to do is make just a big buildup so that it secures the decal, and then you can polish it. I think we got it. So it's a little rough, so what I normally do is use the Abernet to even it out. And then once you do that, you're able to just finish it. And you don't want to use the 320 too much because that way, that's good. Because you don't want to take off all the finish. And I've done that before. So now, this is what it looks like before it's polished down. You can see it's pretty dull. Yeah.
It's because there are no waves.
Hey, has anybody got a knife or something? Like one of those
So
Thank you.
just hold the whole thing.
I just want to make sure to clear off the edges. Let's see from the CA. See, I could use the excuse that, oh, I flew, so I couldn't bring mine, but I didn't. There we go. Thank you. So now, you're just ready to finish it. Now, what I would normally do is I would spread some water like every other one. I'd start dry and then spreads and just alternate. A little marketing tip though, if you live in an area where there's like a local college or community college or anything like that, this is a perfect thing to make a sample of and give to the person that can make the decisions. And like I've gotten 3 universities in Nashville allowed me to use their logo on this. Do what? No, I usually, it's a little dull right in the middle. I can see right here. But
Well, there's the camera. Yeah.
so it's shiny just whenever you do that. And then when you turn around and you put the magic juice on top of that, it really, really shines. But I can tell there's right there. There's a little bitty dull spot from wherever the glue. But that's how you do it. And then there are some on there that I've got that if you wanted to wrap it around the tube where, you know, it goes all the way around, you can do that too. The best ones are where you're using bright colors or kind of like a reddish, dark reddish, or any kind of colors. You know, the firefighter logo is perfect for that. The police, you know, another thing that I did for a couple of police friends was take their you know, their patch and made a pin using their patch, or you can download a badge. I did one for a sheriff's department where I did the sheriff's badge and then the sheriff logo all the way across. And the good thing is you can also do this for when you go to buy the decal paper. If you don't have a laser, you don't want a laser, you can also do a pin box and you can buy the decal, print it off on the decal, and then you can there's instructions on how to put the decal on the box, so you can make a box and a pin. So these up here, if anybody wants any of these decals, feel free to take them. There's scissors if you want to cut off a couple or whatever. They're for you. So.
I'll take you up on that.
Yeah, so hopefully, you know, and Again, my name is Jon David Jones. You can get in touch with me through any of the Facebook groups, Messenger, whatever. And then my pen company is signaturepenco.com, signaturepencompany.com. And you're always able to get in touch with me. Just if you have run into any issues while you're working on it and you have any questions, feel free to call me, message me, call me. I'll help you through it. So don't mind that at all. And so apologize for messing that up a little bit. The paper towel, I would recommend the best paper towels to use, not those, or the blue shop towels, because they absorb the CA whenever you're doing it. This doesn't absorb it at all, as you can see. So, but I hope you enjoyed this. And are there any questions I can answer? Or yes, sir. Thank you.
It makes a decal treatment that you brush on. Have you ever used it? It's supposed to stop it from curling?
It's this right here, the Salva set. Honestly, if you want me to tell you the truth, I don't notice the difference when I'm using this and I don't. This is alcohol based because you can smell it, but I've never, I mean, if I'm doing a lot of them, I just scrub it on and then I set it to the side, scrub it on, set it to the side. But if I'm just doing one, a lot of times I don't even, I tell you, this one bottle has lasted me for about 5 years now. And it's called Salvaset, decal setting solution. There may be another brand out there now, I'm not for sure.
Testers.
And the testers, the tester's bottle that I've got is about that big, and it lasts a while. I mean, the way I see it is, I still have a whole set of, one page is ruined, but the rest of them aren't. I still have a bunch of this paper, so I don't think I'll need any decal paper for a while, and maybe somebody will bring back the laser about that time. So who knows? I wish they wouldn't have done that, but.
You said you can still get it at Hobby Lobby?
Yeah, you can get it, but what I would recommend is just, the last I checked, decalpaper.com had the packages of 100 like that for wood decals, and it was like $99. And so that's a no-brainer on that. It's compared to what you would pay at Hobby Lobby or even buying it from Micromark. And Amazon, you can get it off Amazon too.
But that's for the wood decal.
Now, what I will say this, you can order the laser paper, and most of your home laser printers don't have the power to push that through, but if you were to make a copy and go to your office and just run that through, or even print it to one of the big copier machines, it'll work on that. Because, I had one of my friends, he didn't even use a printer. He just did the PowerPoint and he took it to Office Depot or Staples somewhere and had them print it on that paper and paid them, and it was all done. So that's another option. Any other questions? Sorry about that.